Hello, cinephiles, and welcome to Silver Screen Sips, a podcast where two idiots talk about movies. And today is our listeners' episode, Volume 11, Halloween edition. We have a special guest with us today. He's the host of an amazing podcast, Land of the Creeps, which is a bi-weekly horror podcast that takes on an informative yet entertaining look at old and new horror movies. So what better guest to have today? Welcome. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even ask how to pronounce your last name.
Van Veghel.
Van Veghel. Bill Van Veghel, everyone. I do this every time.
It's all right. Thanks very much. I've been called a lot worse by a lot worse people. So thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Bill Van Veghel. I've been co-host of Land of the Creeps for it's going on 6 years now. It's a podcast that's been on since 2012. And I was a listener, and the main host, Greg Morgan, emailed me and said, "You want to start talking?" Next thing you know, I'm on the show as a guest host. Next thing you know, I haven't been kicked off in 6 years. So
awesome.
I've been on Land of the Creeps. And Land of the Creeps is really unique because each episode is a minimum of 4 hours.
Wow.
So they're 4 to 6 hours long.
That's incredible.
So if you like
Isaiah and I can barely stand each other for half an hour.
I was going to say, for me, half an hour, we haven't even gotten through our opening in Land of the Creeps some days.
That's crazy.
So, and like our listeners will give it to us if they're less than 3.
Wow.
So we have no shortage of movies to talk about. I enjoy it. But again, this is your guys' show. I'm also on Horror Movie Podcast. I contribute to us on that. I co-host Phantom Galaxy with my friend Nathan Bartlebaugh. I also have a daughter. I have no life. So yeah, go ahead.
There you go. That about sums him up.
I'm very enthusiastic about the topic. I'm very enthusiastic about the film. So let's get her going.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Bill. And we're glad that you're here to join us for today's episode.
Thank you.
Of course, just a reminder before we move forward that there are spoilers for movies and TV shows that you may not have seen yet. So just know you've been warned. The movies we will be spoiling today are the movie Signs, VHS 1 and 2, and House of Wax, the original one, the 1953 version. So if you haven't seen any of these and they're on your list, just letting you know, we're going to be talking about them for the whole episode. So you can skip it or whatever.
I literally just watched Signs about a month ago because we reviewed it for a friend and put it out into the interweb. But I hadn't seen it in about 20 years.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
I've never seen it until today.
Oh,
Beautiful.
There you go.
Well,
I was going to say I did The Sixth Sense, not Signs. I have seen Signs in the theater, but it was The Sixth Sense that we did.
that one I have seen.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, you'll enjoy Signs.
Yeah. Do you have any questions before we start?
I do have one general question I haven't said that I just want to see your genuine reaction to.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, nothing's going to throw you off too much, but it might make you go,
Okay, I'm curious.
All right, so my question is with Michael Caine having said that he is retiring after the latest one, he's 91.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite Michael Caine role?
I actually know mine already. And it's a very weird role.
Okay.
My favorite one that he's been in is Miss Congeniality. It's one of my guilty pleasure movies.
Is that the one with Sandra Bullock?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was like, I think one of the first, because I saw that when I was really young. And that was probably one of my first Michael Caine movies. So I kind of just was like, that was him to me. I think he's in Princess Diaries too, isn't he?
He might be. I haven't seen that film, so I can't tell you.
I'm asking the wrong crowd here, but I think he is. And he I might be thinking of the wrong guy, but I just love his character. So that would probably be mine. I don't know about Isaiah though. Definitely not the same answer.
I don't know. It's very. To be honest, I don't think I've seen many Michael Caine like films. There's movies that he's been in that I've seen, but I don't think like stuff that he was like leading. So based on that, I'll probably have to go with like I'd probably have to go like one of the Batmans. He's probably one of my favorite Alfreds though.
Yeah, I see. For me, when I think of Michael Caine, the first one that pops in my head is Blame It on Rio. Have either of you seen?
I don't know if I've heard that one.
A buddy of his is obsessed about finding the older gentleman that slept with his daughter. Meanwhile, it's Michael Caine who slept with his daughter.
Oh, man.
And it's a film from the early 80s that you just would not be allowed to make now.
Those are my favorite kind of movies.
You just wouldn't be allowed. So, I like him in The Italian Job in the 70s.
Yeah.
And they remade that one, I don't know, 20 years ago. I saw it in the theater with one of the Wahlbergs. It was a team. I liked him as Scrooge in The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I never saw the movie, but now that you said that,
it's a good one. Like there's lots of movies that have been made about the Christmas Carol. It's in my top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also in Interstellar. Now that I'm looking at his IMDb and everything, I kind of forgot he had that role. No, he was like the scientist
who was also like a dad.
Was it also his dad?
Was it dad? I think wasn't he the guy who like lied to everybody, being like, "Yeah, we got this," and turns out we didn't.
Pretty much.
And the last one I recall that came to mind was The Eagle Has Landed, the war film from the 70s.
The Eagle Has Landed.
Yeah.
See, I'm very bad with the 70s and 80s films. I'm slowly tiptoeing into that field now that we started the podcast and stuff. But before it was always like more modern. I'm sad to say it was more modern films, but
I'm a cinephile. I'll watch anything from silent films up to the current day.
Yeah, that's good. That's what I aim towards, but I'm starting off a little slow.
You're slowly getting there.
Yes. Rocky was my step in the door.
Now we're talking 1976 Rocky, right? Not 19. Your first one wasn't.
No, not the new one. Not 2006.
I was going to say your first one wasn't Ivan Drago, was it?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
We went in order for sure.
Right. Yeah, the first one's a classic. Great story with him, trying to sell it around Hollywood. Nobody would take it in. He wouldn't give it up to anybody else to reinterpret it, and he waited until somebody finally bought it.
Yeah. Maybe we should have had you on for Rocky.
Yeah, well, the precursor to Rocky was his porno Italian Stallion. The adult film. I haven't seen it, but apparently there's a really ambitious shower scene involved.
I think Isaiah has. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm not opposed to it. It's just not my,
Yeah. Nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with it, but
not my forte.
It hasn't crossed my screen. Not that I wouldn't want.
Yeah. Well, Isaiah, do you want to start us off with your film? Oh, by the way, sorry, Isaiah, I'm already going to cut you off here. This whole episode is pretty much sponsored by one specific listener. So this whole episode is a shout out to one guy who really came in clutch and sent in like 50 movie suggestions, which were all great, by the way. So this episode's like dedicated to Christian. He basically all the movies we all picked are submitted by him, and then we have a couple other listeners that also submitted some of these movies. But overall, Christian is our main guy today. So thank you, Christian, for these awesome suggestions. But Isaiah, why don't you kind of start us off with your movie and tell us what you thought about it?
So I've always heard about Signs. Obviously, it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. So I was expecting a crazy plot twist and stuff like that. The good old staples that is M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes.
I've always heard about it. I've never watched it. Don't know why I never watched it. But until this point, it was always like in the movie watch list, just in the back of my head, being like, oh, I'll get to it one day. Which is so thank God for this podcast, because I probably never would have done it.
Yeah.
But the movie is very good. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It is intriguing to say the least. It's got some quirkiness to it. As the only way I could probably explain it is that so like a lot of the characters, they're all very, I'm gonna say a lot, all the characters, they're very stoic. Like the way they talk and move and act is very robotic, but you can tell that's like kind of the point. Like they're emotionless. They're like there's no emotion, but then there is like at times heightened emotion, or like Mel Gibson's character. He kind of goes throughout the whole. He's got like trauma, right? Because his wife died in a car accident, and spoiler: M. Night Shyamalan is the one who killed her.
Whoa!
Both on the page and literally in the movies. That's his cameo.
Yeah.
But he kind of has like no emotion when he does things, and there's literally a scene where when he meets like one of the aliens, where he walks into a door, and not like he walks through a door and he walks into the room and into frame, but his entire body goes in one way, he turns to his left, but it's all in one swift motion, so it looks like a robot.
Oh no!
And
what year did this movie come out? Sorry.
What year?
It's 2002.
Thank you.
2002. Okay.
Yeah. So is
That
this?
adds up.
It was funny the way people like move and talk and or just express themselves until the end of the movie. Until the end of, in the end of the movie, that's when like all the emotions kind of get like heightened and thrown out. But yeah, like 90% of this movie, everybody is very stoic and emotionless and kind of robotic, but in like a way that it makes sense for some reason. Where you're like, oh, that's weird, but that's because they're weird. And so it just kind of goes on like that. And I just thought it was very weird. And a lot of the movie is
Mm.
comedic in a way it shouldn't be. I, it's not a comedy. It's not a comedy at all. It's a thriller, and it's a very eerie thriller. It's a very good thriller. But there was a lot of moments where I was laughing because of just the delivery of some of the lines because they're just so again straightforward and just out of pocket.
Very M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, so like a lot of the reaction would just be really weird. Like there were the uncle like who's played by Joaquin Phoenix. He is
I
trying
did
to
not know he was
convince.
in the movie.
Yeah, he's trying to convince the family. Oh, what call it? The aliens aren't real. Everything you're hearing off to like this because they're listening to like a baby monitor, and they're hearing like aliens on it, and they're like, oh, he's like, that's just picking up another thing. What do you call it? It's just a bunch of nerds, messing around with crop circles and stuff like that. And then after giving like a minute long speech about how it's not aliens, they go outside the car, and then the radio just starts losing its mind, and he's like, "Don't turn the dial. It might be them." Immediately, like just
Oh,
turns around
jeez.
180s on it. Or there's one of the kids in the movie is reading a book about aliens, and he's talking about like it's where they get the tinfoil hats from and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and he walks in, and the dad, Mel Gibson, the dad, walks in, and he goes, what are you reading there?" And he goes, and he explains what the book is, and he goes, "Oh," and then as he's reading like the conspiracy theories that are going on in it, he goes, "Who wrote this book?" And the kid immediately, without batting an eye, just goes, "Scientists persecuted for their beliefs."
Oh my God.
And so it was just little things like that, just like the delivery of some of the lines and just the way how just straightforward it was, and then no one
Mhm.
talks about it. It's just that was just like normal. It just was funny. I don't know if it was meant to be funny, but I laughed because I thought it was hilarious because it just it was. Um, but yeah, I think the movie's got a very like even though I knew the plot twist already because everybody kind of just spoils it online, it still kind of kept me like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? Like, ooh, that's kind of crazy. Um, so the movie still has like a sense of eeriness even as a thriller, even though even if you do know what's gonna happen because I already did. But yeah, good movie. I do think the plot twist though is a little dumb. I mean, the plot twist is that the aliens are allergic to water, like the water hurts them.
Oh,
And I'm like, okay.
can you
What?
because I have no idea what the movie's about. Can you kind of give like, and for those who haven't seen it and don't know what it's about either, can you give like a quick summary of
It's
what happens in the movie?
it's about a family who live on a farm. Um, yeah, it's about a family who live on a farm, and there's an alien invasion, and they're kind of like, there's like crop circles that happen in their farm, and they're like, I wonder what this is. And it slowly builds up that there's like a type of alien that they're trying to figure out if
Mm.
aliens are invading, and then it turns into like I want to say survival. It's kind of like a War of the Worlds minus like the action part of World of World.
Okay, I see.
But yeah, I think
Now I know.
yeah, but like the aliens' weakness was water, and they did like there's like a week leading up to the invasion, and the week is them like prancing around, like scouting things and stuff like that. And I'm thinking they spent a week scouting things, and they didn't realize that a planet made of nearly entirely of water was basically their weakness. Like so, I
Nobody,
don't
nobody said M. Night Shyamalan makes a lot of sense a lot of the time.
know.
Yeah, let's not give him credit for that.
But yeah, I think it's a good thriller. It might if you just don't think about that fact, everything else is pretty good. It
Yeah. So what did you give it? What was the rating?
was a 4 out of 5.
Oh, 4 out of 5. Wow.
I'm sorry.
That's,
It was a 3.5 out of 5. Like it's good.
okay. I was
It's-
going to say that's very surprisingly high for you.
No, like it's good. I just think that a few of them like I can't ignore that fact, but if you are able to ignore that fact, you might give it a 4 out of 5. But I can't ignore the fact that they showed up on a planet made entirely of water and then said, "Oh my god, guys, we should invade."
Now, on a spookiness level, because this is a Halloween themed
Mhm.
episode, because technically this episode comes out the day before Halloween. So happy Halloween, everyone. What would you rate it on a level of like 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, 5 being like terrifying, you couldn't go to sleep?
I would say it's like a 2.
A
I
2.
wouldn't say it's supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be eerie and more of a thriller. Like it's supposed to make your heart be like, oh crap, what the hell's gonna happen next? But then not like scare you when something happens next. It's more of just to keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time. Which I would
Kind of
say,
like a Quiet Place,
Quiet Place
where
minus
it's not
any
really
jump
supposed to
scares
scare
somehow.
you. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I would say it's on that same delivery of what it's trying to do.
Gotcha. Well, that was suggested by obviously Christian, but we also had that suggested by another listener, Jen.
Christian and
So
Jen.
thank you.
Thank you, Christian and
Awesome.
Jen.
Yeah, I would say Signs is, I don't know if it's scary, but it's eerie. That's how I would put it.
Not scary, but eerie. Like it.
Eerie theory.
Well, thank you, Isaiah, and thank you, Christian and Jen, for a greatest suggestion. That is also on my list of movies to watch, which I will eventually get to. There's hundreds of movies on my list at this point. But before we actually, before we get into Bill's movie, let's take a second to thank the sponsor of today's episode, Shaker and Spoon.
And Christian.
And Christian. Yeah. And Christian. So Shaker and Spoon is a monthly subscription service that gives you bar quality recipes and ingredients designed by award-winning mixologists. Their latest box, Bourbon, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. Features amazing cocktail recipes for bourbon lovers, aka me, with an autumn touch. So if you'd like your very own box to drink along with us, then you can head over to shakerandspoon.com and use our promo code SIPS10 to get $10 off your first subscription. Again, that is promo code SIPS10, SIPS10, to get $10 off. That's definitely going to be the next box I get because anyone who's been listening to us knows that I love bourbon. That is my favorite drink. So why wouldn't I get this box? But thank you, Shaker and Spoon. Now, Bill.
Yep.
I think it's your turn.
You want me to go next? You're stuck with me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, go for it.
So thank you, Christian, and anyone else that suggested my movie, because the actor is my all-time favorite horror movie actor and probably in my top 10 actors, period. It is House of Wax from 1953. Now, those of you listening in who think it's going to be Paris Hilton, you are sadly mistaken. You are not getting a dripping face Paris in this one. This was released in 1953 by André de Toth, who was the director. And André de Toth, this was interesting because this film was shot in 3D. It was the first film from a major studio to be shot in 3D. André de Toth was blind in one eye, and it affected his ability to get and take advantage of the 3D aspect of it. So a lot of people are saying that it actually helped him focus on the film itself and not get caught up in the 3D point of view. It stars Vincent Price, who is one of 2 or 3 actors in horror and probably 7 or 8 in the history of American cinema that really needs no introduction. This is 1953. He had actually been acting for a good 20 years prior to this. Sideman, small roles, no roles too small, give your best effort. But this was his first one that he did that kind of jumped him into the genre he kind of rode the rest of his career, horror. From here, he did a movie a year later called The Mad Magician, which I think is highly underrated. A lot of people don't see. But the next film a lot of people will know him in that's of the horror genre is The Fly.
Yes.
And then from The Fly, he started doing the films House on Haunted Hill, The Last Man on Earth. You get into the Poe Corman films, Fall of the House of the Usher, the Red Mask of Death. You've got the Comedy of Terrors. You've got a whole bunch. You've got Witchfinder General. You've got a whole bunch that go into the 70s. You got Theater of Blood. You got Madhouse. And he keeps going all the way till Edward Scissorhands. And so he's an actor that's got a presence. He's got a way of saying a line. He's got a way of making his body known and being there, and it's unmistakable. It also stars a couple names you won't know and a couple you will know. You probably won't know Frank Lovejoy or Phyllis Kirk, but you might know Carolyn Jones as Morticia from the Addams Family.
Oh yeah.
And she was also in The Man Who Knew Too Much and The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. You may also know a young actor here who doesn't even say a line. His name is Charles Bukowski, also known as Charles Bronson.
Good old Charles Bronson.
Plays a wax worker who's basically plays a dumb mute, but he's really good at with building things with wax. So the IMDb description for this film is as follows. An associate burns down a wax museum with the owner inside, but he survives only to become vengeful and murderous. A theme you're going to see through a lot of Vincent Price films is he feels he's been wronged and he gets his way to exact revenge. You're going to see this come up in Theater of Blood. You're going to see this come up in The Abominable Dr. Phibes. You're going to see this come up in Madhouse. It's a role he does well. He plays the bad, he plays the baddie, he plays the heavy, but you can't take your eye off him. So Price works at a wax museum as a sculptor, but his partner isn't happy with the return on investment. He thinks the place should be making more money. He doesn't have the patience to wait. He burns the place down. Price is the sculptor, and he can't stand the fact that all of his works are melting away. And it's very dramatically done. Probably the spookiest parts of the movie are watching these wax statues melt away from their frame. And you see the eyeballs popping out. You see
like Indiana Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Except this was 1953, but it's the very same concept.
It was the predecessor.
And the film is very dramatic, both in the music and when you see the sculptures melting, especially in color. 1953 for a studio to put it in color, Warner Brothers, that took a little bit of chutzpah, and they did that. And you spend a lot of time watching them melt. Now, Price is presumed dead, but he comes back to avenge his death. So it's early practice for Dr. Phibes roles, Theater of Blood roles, Madhouse roles, etc. And it's basically what happens is he gets people in the community that he has an axe to grind with, kills them, puts them up in wax, and then redoes his museum as his Theater of the Macabre. And it's literally people in their own house of wax.
That's fucked up. I like it.
It's going to be right up. And the thing is, it's 70 years old, 80 years old, the film. Yeah. It could easily be done again today with the exact same theme, the exact same premise. I mean, you go to cities like Niagara Falls and the whole bloody street is lined with these wax museums, Madame Tussauds and whatever. They are still as relevant today as they were in 1953. It's almost when he's in his role, he's got his face all mangled and scarred, and it's got a little bit of Phantom of the Opera to it. Almost, if you've seen that film Darkman, which I saw in the theater way back in the day, it's almost inspiration for Darkman. And they even inserted halfway through the film, it's only like 92 minutes or something, they inserted an intermission. It says, we're now having an intermission. And the reason they insert that in is because when they were doing the film, there used to be 2 reels of film and you had to switch over to the one that was the 3D film. So they had to switch it up and they needed an intermission.
So wait, was the first half in not 3D and the second half was?
Well, I don't know that it was 100% not 3D, but not having the glasses and being 70 years old, I don't know that you caught it, right? You know, there is one scene where a husband takes his wife or his girlfriend to a cabaret club. I know these girls have their dresses flying in the air. That's supposed to have been a 3D effect. It was missed on me. I don't know. And it comes to a bit of a police procedure, police serial. They're trying to figure out what's going on. You know, why are these things happening? Why are people missing? Why can't the bodies be found? The police kind of get on a chase. Somebody who knew somebody who had died saw her friend encased in wax, and she became obsessed until she figured out what happened. It's got some really nice practical effects on Price's face. There is a fight in the museum at the end with a guillotine and a vat full of bubbling wax. It is probably the modern version of, something that's an exciting film. I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror per se, but it's a thriller. It's got horrific elements. It's kind of a gateway film. You got a buddy who's never seen horror films before, show him House of Wax. This is one of those films that can get you in. the guy that did the makeup, I looked into him. His name was Gordon Bow. He did makeup effects. This was 1953. He did them all the way up until the makeup effects for Dirty Harry in 1971.
Oh, wow.
He did The Jungle Book. He did A Streetcar Named Desire. Another one to add to your list to watch is a sci-fi film from 1954 called Them. He did the special effects for Them. The music is quite good. The composer was a man called David Butolph, who did The Three Musketeers, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and the television show Maverick. Like, there is a lot of people in this film that know what they're doing, and they probably didn't throw a whole whack load of money at it because they didn't know how it was going to do. But for what they put into it, I thought it was really, really well done. And this was actually a remake of 1933's Mystery of the Wax Museum. So this is a story that was told before. It's been a story that's told after. It's a story that'll be told again. Is it my favorite of Price's films? It's not in my top 5, not even in my top 7. It might sneak into my top 10, but it's a fun movie. It's a movie you can almost show your family, if I hesitate to say that, on Halloween. And it's a lot of fun. Have your favorite substances, your favorite libations. Get a bag of popcorn, get some chips, get some Cheetos, sit back and watch House of Wax. 8 out of 10 for me.
8 out of 10. What is that out of 5? Like
4. 4
nice.
to 5. Yeah.
Nice.
Very good. Very good. What a great review. That's got to be one of the best reviews I have heard to date.
Oh, you just wait till
podcast.
I'm 4 hours in. They don't get so good.
Like, you know what? It was not bad. And that's all I got to say about it. That's about what Isaiah and I say.
All righty. So what do you got there?
I've got 2, actually. I watched, it was part 1 and part 2. I watched VHS 1 and VHS 2. Also suggested by Christian. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Christian.
I could have sworn, because, okay, here's the thing. Before I even talk about the movies themselves, I thought I had seen these films before because I've always talked about them and been like, oh, these movies are so good. Like, they're so scary. And then I watched them and I was like, okay, I've never seen these films. Especially one, I think I've seen like the first 5 or 10 minutes of because it felt very familiar. But the second one I had never seen. So there's a movie out there that I thought was, maybe it's a later VHS movie that I did see. And I thought it was 1 or 2, but I was wrong. So for those who don't know what VHS is, Isaiah, this is right up your alley.
Oh boy.
It is 100% gore porn type movie. Yeah. It is basically a collection of tapes that are basically put onto one VHS tape, for those who don't know what a VHS tape is, because those are outdated now.
Well, Laserdisc.
Yeah. I guess anyone younger than us might not know what a VHS tape is, which is crazy.
Did you hear about Pete Davidson?
Yeah, he bought them all.
Yeah.
He
You
bought
bought
them all.
VHS tapes?
Yeah. He gets high. He goes onto Amazon or whatever, or eBay, buys a whole shitload of VHS tapes, have them sent to him. He kind of sobers up in the morning, says, what the hell did I do? Turns out he has more than anybody, could handle, and it's going to sell them for quite the profit.
What the hell? Pete Davidson, guys.
Anyways, sorry to sidetrack you.
No, that's crazy. That's insane. But yeah, if you don't know what a VHS tape is, look it up. I am not explaining it.
I think I still have my Blockbuster card in my wallet.
That's amazing. Never get rid of that. So basically, each movie, it's a similar concept. It's about a main group of people finding this VHS tape. They play the VHS tape. What's on the tape is several different segments, I guess you could call it. And each one tells a different horror story. And they're all found footage styled. And the tape, when you play it, basically kind of I don't know if it possesses you or what. They don't really explain it, but you basically kind of die if you watch it. It's kind of like The Ring. Yeah. It's kind of like Ring vibes, but that's pretty much the premise of both films. But like I said, it's very gory. So I would not watch this with your family. There's a lot of nudity and a lot of sex. It honestly felt more like porn than like gore porn at points. So definitely not a family friendly movie unless your family is like really chill. Then you can watch it with them. I would not recommend it unless you want to be really uncomfortable. So I'll start with the first one. So this movie was done in 2012, which I felt like these movies were way older. Like I thought they were like 2002 or so, but I was wrong. 2012, guys. And the first one, I gave it a 1.5 out of 5, mainly for the lack of like scare factor. I guess it wasn't really a scary movie to me. It could have been to other people who were maybe not a fan of gore, like Isaiah probably could have disturbed someone enough to make them feel scared. Unfortunately, I'm a little desensitized because of the Saw movies, so it didn't really bother me too much. Yeah. There were certain segments within the movie that I do want to touch on that I did like they were interesting. Some of them were just kind of meh and forgettable, but the ones that actually did stick with me, there was this woman and her boyfriend FaceTiming. Like the whole thing was through Well, okay, it was 2012 version of FaceTime, so it was like Skype. They're like Skyping basically, and she's complaining about this like lump in her arm, and that she keeps hearing noises outside of her room. So the boyfriend's like, I'm sure it's nothing or whatever. And she goes to check and there is something there. And it goes on for a few nights where she sees these like ghost things. So she eventually confronts them and they attack her. And turns out the boyfriend was like in on it the whole time. And he, I guess, planted like something in her, and that's what the lump was in her arm. And it turns out she was pregnant with like this ghost baby thing. Like it's insane.
What is this
The
plot?
stories are insane. And like he's working with the ghost things. Okay, as I'm explaining this out loud, I'm like, okay, this sounds fucking crazy.
He's a ghost double agent.
Basically. And he's like working with these little ghost boys. And he like pulls the alien baby thing. And he's like, I'm going to have to lie to her again and like tell her that she like had an episode and like hurt herself or something. And he like does this with multiple women where he like lies to them and then uses them to like have these alien baby things. It's crazy. I don't even want to talk about the other ones because there's one that's just really fucked up. It's the first one. So if you've seen the VHS movies, you know which one I'm talking about. It's the first segment on the tape. It's just messed up. There's a lot of like, I don't know, dark subjects I don't really want to touch on. So we will keep that out of this episode. But I gave it a 1.5. It was too much, just a little too much porn. There's a lot of sex in this movie. Like every segment I saw like naked women. I saw naked men too, but like it felt like you could tell it was an independent project because they had to somehow get like the audience's attention. So they're like, you know what we could do to get them to like this movie? Boobs. Because that works every time.
Boobs and blood will bring them in.
Boobs and blood works every time. If anyone wants a successful movie, that's what you do.
I was going to say, what I do like about the VHS and the VHS too is, let's say there's a segment you don't like, it's only 20 minutes.
Yeah,
so it'll move on to the next, you know.
Yeah, it's very like you can treat each segment as like a short film itself, which is kind of nice. Like Bill was saying.
It's almost like a collection of student films.
So I'm glad you said that, because another thing I wanted to say was it reminds me, the first one reminds me so much of my first ever short film that I made called The Woods, that it's like it was almost not shot for shot, but it's very similar. And I never had seen VHS. So the fact that it's that similar is really weird to me. So if you like the VHS movies and you want to see a shittier version, go check out The Woods on YouTube.
Can you link it in the show notes?
Oh yeah. We would definitely will. It's so I want to if anyone decides to watch this, I'm going to try and justify it. I had just started out film school, so I didn't even know how to properly slate yet. That's how uneducated I was in the film industry. It was honestly just like a fun way to make movies with my friends. Like it was I'm not gonna lie, it was such a fun experience, but it's not a good movie. But if you liked VHS, it's very similar. Not as gory and not as much nudity. Sorry, guys. But
come on, no, it's no good now. Not nudity.
Yeah, no blood and gore. But
no boobs and blood. Shame.
No boobs and blood. It's on YouTube, so there's definitely no boobs. But yeah, it's on there if you guys want to go see it. But it's like found footage style and stuff like that, and like just stupid teenagers doing stupid things and shit goes haywire, basically. So yeah, especially the first one really made me think about the woods, and I was just like, for that reason alone, I gave it a 1.5, which was higher than I was originally going to give it. So the second one, which I'll kind of touch on a little quicker than the first one. I wasn't going to watch the second one, but it was suggested by Christian. And I was like, you know what? I got time. So I'll watch it. I gave it a higher rating. I gave it a 2 out of 5. Not that much higher. Yeah, not that much better. But I did think that the production felt a lot more improved and a lot, like, I wouldn't say a much bigger budget, but you could definitely tell they had success with the first one. So they were able to actually put money into this one. Like graphic speaking, set design, like they had like real legitimate locations that they shot in. However, I will say improving from shit doesn't mean it's a good film.
Worst to bad is not much of an improvement.
Exactly. There were segments of this tape in this one that I did like. There was this huge like Indonesian cult thing that happened that was really well done. I would watch a whole feature length version of it. It was very interesting. I wish we could have dived more into the story because it was like probably the one that stuck with me the most out of them all. Very creepy and disturbing. And I think, again, this one, much like the first one, kind of overall lacks that like true horror. So it kind of just like relies on jump scares a lot of the time, which is like a lot of horror films. But it kind of also fails, when this goes for both films too, they both kind of fail to give you any remotely decent characters. Like every character in this movie is just a shitty person. Like you don't like any of them. So you're kind of like, all right, it's kind of a good thing they die.
I'm rooting for your death.
But I will give the directors credit for like originality of a lot of the segments. There's some pretty, like the ones I just touched on, there's some pretty like unique ones that I would have never thought to do. But that's kind of about it. So sorry, but 2 out of 5 for VHS 2.
Now, do you plan on seeing the one that's out now? Was it VHS 85? Is that the one that's out?
Yeah.
I think that is the one that came out. I might as well. I already made it through 2 of them, so might as well see how this one looks.
I saw the one prior. What was the one? Was it 84? No. Yeah. The one that there was one that came out a year ago, a year and a half ago, that kind of deal.
94, that was 2021.
94. That's
and then there's 99, which is 22. There's also VHS Viral, which was 2014.
Why are there so many? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well,
because might as well just done a VHS series.
But the thing is, they're cheap to do. They're quick. Yeah. They're dirty. They're easy. Throw them together, can kind of see how it shakes out, and that's what they do.
Yeah. I like that. You know, I mean, I am, that's kind of why when I did my short film, I did found footage. It's the easiest thing to do. You can make it look shitty on purpose. You don't have to like do crazy lighting setups or anything because it's just supposed to be natural. Like that is a very nice aspect to that kind of style. But like if I'm comparing like VHS to another found footage film, so like Blair Witch, I definitely think Blair Witch is more of my kind of cup of tea. Just I felt like there was more of a consistent storyline instead of, I mean, I like the idea of doing like 6 or 7 different stories kind of tied into one. I like that. But if I had to choose, I think I'd go for one consistent thing.
Yeah, I quite like that. The movie, the Creep movies. Have you seen Creep 1, Creep 2?
Oh boy.
I think I saw Creep 1, but like a long time ago, so vaguely remember it.
Yeah, Mark Duplass, where he dresses up in certain outfits and
Yes.
Yep. Those are my 2 favorite found footage, other than Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, Cannibal Holocaust, dude. I've been wanting to watch that so badly.
I quite enjoy it, but it's not for the faint of heart if you're an animal lover.
Well, I was about to say that's exactly why I want to watch it, and then you said the second half. I was like, wait, that makes me sound like a horrible person. I meant more of, I don't know. I know I'm fucked up in the head, but I like those kind of films that leave me disturbed.
Yeah, I'm unabashedly an extreme horror fan.
Oh, me too. It's definitely my favorite genre, specifically like psychological.
In terms of graphicness, it isn't that extreme, but like the end, you haven't seen it. The end will stick with you for a little bit. It'll the last 10, 15 minutes, because you hate them. You call them antagonists, you call them protagonists, call them what you want, but they're all a bunch of assholes. And they kind of, I'll just leave it at that. I'll let you watch.
Okay.
But it won't.
Where can I watch it? Do you know?
Well, whenever I'm in doubt, I go to effedupmovies.com.
I always check Letterboxd because it usually tells you where you can watch movies.
Yeah. I have an app called Just Watch, and it'll always show you where it's playing. But yeah, Isaiah, do you have a favorite found footage film?
Not really. I don't really do horror movies. I'm not
He doesn't. I was amazed I could get him to watch this, do this segment.
So House of Wax is his speed.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will not suggest August Underground to him.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him to do the Saw franchise or Final Destination because, like, I also
never do any of those. Nope.
I am a sucker for like gore porn. Is a kind of a category.
I will say, Isaiah, I watched for the first time the other day Saw X.
I haven't seen that one yet.
It is fantastic. And I don't say that lightly. It is, they spend, that kind of film isn't known for character development.
No, no, it is not.
They spend the first 25 minutes developing the main character.
Oh, wow. That's
because it takes place between Saw 1 and Saw 2. And the main character goes through cancer treatment, and the ramifications of what happens in the movie. So you're gonna want to check it, Isaiah. You'll be fine. Hold your girlfriend's hand, whatever you do, and watch the film.
Isaiah, in case you're confused, Saw 10 is between Saw 1 and Saw 2. In case you couldn't follow that one.
The math.
Yeah, it adds up. I love horror. I was excited to do this listeners episode just because I will take any excuse to watch a horror movie.
Hey, so now I'm going to give you a film to watch, to look up. It's on YouTube. You like found footage, you like horror, you like the graphic.
It's called The Woods. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Look up a South Korean film from 2007 called The Butcher.
The Butcher.
The Butcher. Like, if you type in, there's a bunch of films called The Butcher, and there's actually one from 2006. Go for one that's 2007, and on the cover, it has a man holding a chainsaw with a pig's mask on.
Oh, is it that? Is it the pig mask I'm thinking of? Hold on.
It's the Butcher. It's directed by Kim Jin-won. It is one of those ones where for the first half an hour, your brain does it for you. And then once it gets going, you don't need your brain.
Interesting.
I just did it with a friend of mine, Raul and Ashley. They have a show called Headlong into Monsters. And we did all extreme films, and they hadn't seen it. And I had them watch it. And 3 of the 4 of us thought it was amazing. One of them didn't. but three of the four of them did. So yeah,
Like the honesty, at least.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely, for Halloween, like that's my tradition is always to watch a scary movie of some sort, whether it's something new or something I've seen a bajillion times.
Will you guys do an episode at the end of the year where it's your favorite, horror films, drama films, comedy, like films of the year?
Ooh.
I think we're going to do it now.
Yeah, we've never thought to do that before.
Yeah, because I'm low this year. I have to catch up. This year I've only watched 245 movies.
Oh my!
And of that, from 2023, it would be. I'm only at I don't know, something like 45, 50 films from this year. So I need to do a last minute sprint to get through. There's a bunch I still need to watch. I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet.
Oh,
really? Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have to find the 3 hours to sit and watch it. That's
yeah, there it is.
There it is.
I've only seen, according to my letterboxd, I've only seen 49 movies this year.
Like of all years, like everything combined.
Oh, altogether that I've logged?
Yeah.
520.
Oh, there you go.
There's probably, I have a really bad memory. So there's probably a lot of movies that I have seen that I just haven't logged on my app. Yeah. But the ones that I've remembered, I've 520, which is not bad. I'll take it.
I made a list before I knew Letterboxd exists. I literally made a 45-page Word document with every single movie I've ever seen. And then after it was done, and then like a week later, I showed a friend. I was like, "Hey," and he goes, "This is an app for that, right?" And I was like, "There is."
After all that work.
Yeah. So I have 1,846 and 53 are this year.
Jesus, I watch more movies. Yikes.
Yeah, well, the thing is, because I'm on so many podcasts and I have so many things, it's a real treat for me to watch a film and not have to take notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
Because I watch so many that I have to take notes for, which I love doing. Don't get me wrong. But it's another thing just to sit on the couch in your track pants and watch a film.
Oh, yeah. That's why I enjoy what we do with the seasons where we specifically watch a certain franchise or something. And then we get to watch these like listeners episodes. So it's like a little bit different. But then we still have enough time to watch what we want to watch so that you're not tied to it. Working kind of a thing. Yeah, we're not taking notes.
On Land of the Creeps, we just did not that long ago. I watched all 6 of the Scream episodes, Scream movies. We watched all 12 of the Friday the 13th.
Oh, God.
Yeah, there's 12 of them. And so, it's one of those things you get into a role, you kind of get into that headspace, you can watch it. But, I'm not going to, if I have 2 spare hours, I'm going to use it towards those instead of something else because I got to watch it anyways.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, that's why when I watch Saw, it's like I'm not taking any notes. I'm just having a cold beverage,
just
watching
enjoying.
a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Well, do you guys have anything else you want to add before I wrap up today's episode?
No, I think we had a good time here. I think we got along pretty well. The movies seem to vibe pretty well. And I'd be glad to come back on anytime you want. Otherwise, I will just listen on my podcatcher whenever they come.
Yeah, we'll definitely would love to have you back on for maybe just a regular non-horror related movie.
It doesn't have to be spooky. I can watch whatever.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, coincidentally enough, actually, I will. Hold on. We'll get to that in a second before I spoil it.
You don't want to give it away yet. It's called the tease.
Yeah, I don't because I'm about to explain it anyways. So thank you for listening to today's episode. Thank you again to all of our listeners for the awesome suggestions. Shout out Christian, coming in clutch. We're sorry if your film didn't make today's episode, but don't worry. We will watch it in an upcoming listeners episode. We have a whole list, so we'll get to it at some point sooner or later. Of course, thank you, Bill, for joining us today, and definitely go check out his podcast. If you're like me and you love horror, that is the place to go for sure.
I was going to say, set aside 6 hours and put on Land of the Creeps.
Yeah.
You can find
You're
it.
going to take while you're at work, just put it on in the background. And you'll be good to go.
A lot of our listeners like it because they start it when their shift starts and sometimes it gets them through their shift.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. Do you have any like social media platforms or anything you want to plug? Right.
I'm on Facebook under Bill Van Veghel. I'm in the Land of the Creeps Facebook group. I'm in the Phantom Galaxy Facebook group. I'm in the Horror Movie Podcast Facebook group. Check us out, landofthecreeps.blogspot.com. You can Google all the others. And I'm just so happy to, find a new audience, find some newfound friends, keep on. And remember, Halloween is not just the only time you can watch horror. You can watch horror in February.
Amen.
You can watch horror on a Tuesday night in November. On Christmas.
Yeah.
Watch Christmas Evil on Christmas.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. So everybody, thank you very much. It was a blast, and I hope to hear from you again.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. We hope to have you on again soon. Speaking of that, want to mention that we have our poll results from last week on what you guys voted for our next season of what franchise we'll be covering. And guess what? You guys voted for The Purge, which is a horror-themed franchise. So, Bill, maybe you can come on for The Purge.
I'd say it starts horror-themed. As they go on,
yeah,
it wanes a bit, but I would still say it's suspenseful.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I've only seen the first one, so I will be going into this kind of blindly here.
Yeah, what are they up to? 3, 4, or 5? I can't remember.
I think
They're
5.
making a 6.
They're making a 6th, yeah.
Yeah.
But
and I was going to say there is the TV show, which I've never seen either.
There's also
a show now. Oh my god!
Yeah.
We're not doing the show, guys. Sorry, that's too much. Also, if you're not already, go follow us on Instagram so you can receive any and all updates, and also cast your votes for the next season when we get to season 15. Obviously, you can also get any updates regarding the show, whether it's guests, upcoming franchises, or anything else that's important. Yeah, thank you again, Bill, and we'll see you guys next week with season 14 with The Purge. Is that the name of the first one? Just The Purge?
The Purge.
The Purge. All right. Have a great Halloween.
Ooh.
There you go. Spooky noises.
That was a ton of fun.
That was a good evil laugh.